whole murder.
Who got off and who got laughed out of court.
Have fun in prison, get a good night's sleep.
And listen up.
You better figure out what's going on. It's an early warning system.
Are those noises your body makes something to worry about?
We believe it increases a whole slew of medical problems, including immune system issues, may even be linked to things like cancer.
Also, taking extreme measures from preparing the ultimate doomsday bunker to life in a solar-powered floating pod with all of the comforts of home. Plus, how this perplexed pup got pranked with cling wrap.
How did you do that? I need a plan.
Now, DailyMail.com, the world's most read newspaper website, brings you DailyMailTV. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show. It is great to have you with us today as we bring you a hand-picked roundup of Nancy Grace's most outrageous true crime cases. And we begin with a deadly plot involving meth, incest, and murder hatched by a West Virginia father and his two daughters, one of whom he reportedly married after the twisted trio tortured and killed her boyfriend. And today we dive into these disturbing details of the chilling case, including just how far these killers went to cover their tracks.
It's all about covering up incest.
On Valentine's Day 2019, West Virginia sisters Amanda McClure and Anna Marie Chaudhary, along with their father, Larry McClure, tortured and murdered Amanda's boyfriend, John McGuire, all so that Amanda and Larry could continue their incestuous affair.
When the dad, Larry Paul McClure, sees his grown daughter is dating John, he goes into a jealous rage and puts a murder plot in motion.
The trio, allegedly high on homemade meth, reportedly lured John into a twisted trust game where he allowed himself to be tied up.
They then proceed to beat him over the head with a wine bottle. Then they torture him, beat him, put a plastic bag over his head.
At that point, Anna Marie reportedly confesses she injected John with a bad batch of meth. When he didn't immediately die, Larry stood on his back while Anna Marie strangled him with a rope.
They then bury him after dismembering him in a shallow grave in their backyard.
A few weeks later, Amanda reportedly became paranoid that John was still alive, and the deranged trio dug up John's corpse.
At that point, Larry McClure Sr. drives nails through the body to make sure John McGuire is dead, and they bury him in a second location. Still paranoid, they dig the body up again and then bury the body parts in two different locations.
It was around this time on March 11, 2019, that Amanda and her father were married in Virginia.
On her marriage license says someone else is her biological father. Then, to celebrate the whole horror story, the incestuous newlyweds moved to Kentucky to start over.
John, a dad of 6, originally from Minnesota, was eventually reported missing by his ex, Angela.
How could somebody just do that to a human being who has a heart and has a family?
His teenage daughter, Justice, pleading for information on social media. In September 2019, police located John's remains after Larry disclosed details of the grisly murder while behind bars for a sex offender registry violation. Larry ultimately confessed and was convicted of first-degree murder last year.
But I promise you, you and your 2 kids are going straight to hell.
Now, what about the 2 devil daughters? Anna Marie ended up pleading guilty to second-degree murder. Amanda, who was the victim's girlfriend, pled guilty to second-degree murder, and she was sentenced to 40 years behind bars.
Their father, Larry, was sentenced to life behind bars without mercy.
He's behind bars, and he'll stay there for the rest of his life.
Anna Marie Chaudhary was recently sentenced to 40 years behind bars. Be sure to catch Nancy Grace's hit series, Crime Stories, on Sirius XM and Fox Nation. Up next, it is a shocking cold case confession. In 2007, Stephanie Eldridge mysteriously vanished from her home. Her remains then found buried in a shallow grave. For years, this case would remain cold. But just recently, her boyfriend's half-brother, Kenneth Jones, was sentenced for killing the mom of 3. And we've got the very latest in this gruesome case, including the grisly details of Jones' alleged confession.
Obsession, anger, hatred boiled over that morning.
On August 20th, 2007, mom of 3, Stephanie Eldridge, vanished from the Idaho Falls home she shared with her boyfriend, Michael Jimenez, and Michael's half-brother, Kenneth Jones. Authorities focused on Jones early in the investigation after he allegedly changed his story multiple times when questioned about his whereabouts.
Not only did Kenneth Jones have conflicting statements, he also had scratches on his neck. He said he got the scratches from tree branches.
2 years later, in 2009, while incarcerated for an unrelated crime, Jones allegedly made a shocking jailhouse confession to cellmate Eddie Arreño that he had hit Stephanie in the head and then suffocated her.
He says she's his girlfriend, not his brother's, that he loved her and wanted her all to himself.
The next year, in April of 2010, a repairman reportedly found Stephanie's remains buried in a shallow grave in the foothills of East Idaho.
Her hands and wrists were bound with electrical tape, and her face, her mouth, her nose were entirely wrapped like a mummy with that same electrical tape.
Despite the mounting evidence and alleged jailhouse confession, Jones continued to evade murder charges, and the case remained cold for more than a decade.
You can see how secluded it is.
In 2018, the investigation heats up when Idaho Falls Sergeant Jessica Marley enlists the help of Oxygen's Cold Justice team.
When do y'all think the tape wrapping happened?
My assumption would be that everything happened in the house.
Additional resources provided by the series eventually led to a long-awaited break in this case. In 2019, Jones was arrested and charged with second-degree murder.
I'm sorry for what happened, and I'm even more sorry for the 3 little girls that grew up without their mom.
He claimed in court the two got in an argument. He pushed her, she fell and hit her head, and that he panicked and got rid of the body. Do I buy it? No, he's lying. He murdered her, I suspect, after she sexually rejected him.
Jones recently entered a guilty plea to a reduced charge of voluntary manslaughter and destruction or concealment of evidence.
I believe the reason they went with that charge is because the decomposure of the body made it impossible to determine cause of death.
Jones has been sentenced to 10 to 21 years behind bars.
He's up for parole in 2033. This was a very light slap on the wrist.
Kenneth Jones remains behind bars at the Bonneville County Jail in Idaho. We want to focus now our attention to the chilling cases of homicidal sleepwalking and the alleged killers who claim they have no memory of the brutal murders they're accused of committing because they were fast asleep. It is a very controversial defense strategy that argues killers cannot be held responsible for murders committed while they were sleepwalking.
The sleepwalking defense is rarely used because it rarely works.
In 1997, in Phoenix, Arizona, police were called to the home of husband Scott Falater, and they found the body of his wife, Yarmila, floating in the family pool. She had been stabbed 44 times and drowned. Shockingly, Scott claimed he had no memory of the murder.
Falater tells police he went to bed sometime after 9 o'clock that night. And the next thing he remembers is standing in the stairs in his pajama with cops telling him to put his hands in the air.
At his highly publicized trial, Scott's attorneys claimed the father of 2 was sleepwalking at the time he committed the murder and therefore could not be held responsible. But the jury didn't buy it.
Detectives found his bloody clothes hidden away so cops couldn't find them. His hunting knife, the murder weapon, was found in a storage area in the back of his car. There's no way, according to experts, he could have formed the intent to hide his actions and get rid of evidence in his sleep.
We, the jury.
In 1999, Scott was convicted of first-degree murder. 7 months later, he was sentenced to life without parole.
Have fun in prison, Falater. Get a good night's sleep.
2013 in Houston, Texas, Raymond Lazarine shot his wife of 35 years, Deborah, 6 times. Moments later, he called his son, claiming he killed his wife in a dream, but awoke to find her in a pool of blood. Lazarine's defense team argued that his actions were involuntary due to his sleep-like state.
The reality is, the defendant in this case, Raymond Lazarine, was a nasty, hateful, and abusive drunk. His family says he had abused his wife many times, threatening to kill her in the past.
A jury rejected Lazarine's controversial defense. He was found guilty of murder. and sentenced to 75 years in prison.
Common sense dictates he knew what he was doing, and he's right where he should be, behind bars.
In some cases, the controversial sleepwalking defense has been used with success. In Durham, North Carolina, 2010, Joseph Mitchell admitted to strangling his 4-year-old son Blake and attacking his 2 other children while wearing a Halloween mask.
According to Daddy slept through the whole murder.
Mitchell's attorneys claimed his actions were involuntary and reportedly argued violent sleepwalking was to blame.
Joseph Mitchell's defense was able to pay experts to come into court and say that Mitchell was totally unaware of what he was doing. Believe it or not, a jury actually bought the argument.
In 2015, Mitchell was found not guilty on all counts and walked out of court a free man.
The jury acquittal was a huge miscarriage of justice. I believe the sleepwalking defense is a mechanism for cold-blooded killers to walk scot-free.
For more information on these sinister sleepwalking murder cases, all you have to do is go to DailyMail.com. Also, be sure to catch Nancy Grace's hit series, Crime Stories, on Sirius XM and Fox Nation. Don't go anywhere. There is much more Daily Mail TV ahead, so stay with us. Later, listen up.
You better figure out what's going on. It's an early warning system.
Are those noises your body makes something to worry about?
We believe it increases a whole slew of medical problems, including immune system issues, may even be linked to things like cancer.
And up next, taking extreme measures from preparing the ultimate doomsday bunker to across the globe. So I don't think it would be too out of the ordinary to take extreme measures and prepare for, dun-dun-dun, the end of the world. Right? Now, I know some homeowners already have, but today we take a look inside a $3 million doomsday condo, and it's what's seriously popular. All right, so let's dive in because it's located in Kansas. This doomsday bunker used to be a Cold War missile silo that was built by the U.S. government. Well, today, this missile silo has been turned into luxury condos that can house up to 75 people, and it's called the Survival Condo Project. The owners there pay a monthly $5,000 resident association fee, and they gain full access to this luxury bunker, which is equipped with amenities from a movie room, a fitness center, pool, and a general store. The mega bunker is 15 stories deep, and it can in fact survive a nuclear blast. Wow. Next, take a look at this floating circular pod that is actually an apartment on water. Talk about isolated living at its best. So this pod is fully solar powered to meet all of the electrical and hot water needs of a typical living accommodation, and it includes a full kitchenette, an XL-sized bedroom, a bathroom, a lounge area. Plus, I heard the pool out back is pretty ginormous. Look, yeah, water view everywhere. Now, it's also said to be eco-friendly, causing no damage to the seabed. Pretty cool. Now, the next family has not one, not two, but 6 tiny homes to make their full family village. That's right. They have this going on in Kentucky. The Brinks spent $57,000 on a 21-acre property and then built 6 mini houses on it, turning it into their own village. And they've got the parents' house, the kids' separate houses, then a double bathroom house, a pool house, and even a guest house. And the daughter Lennox often gives her TikTok followers the tour of her family's village. Social media users out there, they love it. I mean, what's not to love? If I were a teen and I had my own private home, I'd be pretty thrilled about it, wouldn't you? Yeah, and that is what's seriously popular today. Stay with us, we've got much more are trying to tell us.
Your body is like a car. When your car's making weird sounds, you better figure out what's going on.
Dr. Oz says what's going on could have a simple, harmless explanation or signal something more serious.
The sounds are not associated with pain or any kind of discomfort. They're almost always okay for you.
Dr. Oz points to intestinal gurgling as one example.
It means you've got fluid passing through the 26 feet of intestine. It makes like a drum beat, and you hear it. Not dangerous, not a problem, unless you have associated pain, in which case it could be irritable bowel or something worse.
A buildup of air in the stomach can be quite uncomfortable, but isn't usually dangerous. It's relieved by a noisy belch or by passing gas. Both are normal bodily functions that are encouraged.
There's nothing worse than having a big belly full of air and not being able to pass it out.
Air going back and forth through your nasal passages can cause whistling.
But if you narrow that
This is a test of the emergency alert system. During emergencies, WPIX will provide important information for New York City and its surrounding areas. This concludes this test of the emergency alert system.
Cracking and popping are common sounds that are often of little consequence.
You have liquid in between your joints, and there are air bubbles in that liquid, and the air bubbles get pulled out of a solution, so they pop. But you'll also have these sort of creaks and everything when the joints are touching each other.
However, Dr. Oz cautions, if the joint making the sound is locking, then releasing, it could be a precursor to a bigger problem.
That's worth having someone from physical therapy work with you, because you can loosen up the joint, which can avoid future injury.
Perhaps the most frightening sound our bodies make is gasping. Dr. Oz says it happens during sleep, and it is the result of sleep apnea, where your throat muscles relax, then collapse and block your airway.
Literally, you're suffocating. Your brain is forcing you to awaken in order to get some tension back in your neck and allow you to breathe again. As soon as you fall asleep, the same thing happens again.
The harmful effects are numerous.
High blood pressure. We believe it increases a whole slew of medical problems, including immune system issues, may even be linked to things like cancer because of your immune system.
There are treatments for sleep apnea, including weight loss, CPAP machines, and even surgery. But Dr. Oz says, before something simple turns serious, the best thing you can do is listen to what your body's saying.
It's an early warning system. As soon as you start having pain or it's out of the ordinary, trust your gut instinct, go see a doctor.
A lot of good information. You can always follow Dr. Oz on social media, and be sure to tune in to his show Under, despite the fact that he is so tall. Limbo's not going to work here. And in the end, he makes it under and through the doorway. What an ordeal for him. And that is your Daily Mail Click. DailyMail.com is where the world gets its news. So please follow us online 24.